Hello and welcome to the Australia-Vietnam EdTech Dialogue. I'm Luke Seacombe, the Innovation Program Manager at Edugrowth, and I'll be hosting today's program. We're looking forward to hearing from amazing thought leaders on the future of education and learning, more about some amazing, innovative Australian and Vietnamese EdTech companies. Before I open the program, I'd like to begin with some housekeeping. For attendees joining us who require translation to Vietnamese, please click on the Kudo link in the chat box. Open Kudo on a second computer tab and use the audio while enjoying the summit on Hopin. Just remember to mute Hopin so you only have one source of audio. For those who are just being introduced to Edugrowth, we are Australia's education, technology and innovation industry hub. Through connection and collaboration, we are accelerating Australia's EdTech ecosystem globally. Thank you for joining us here today. Allow me to begin today's proceedings by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land. For those joining us internationally, we start every event in Australia with an acknowledgement of country as an important step towards reconciliation with Australia's First Persons. As we gather today, physically dispersed but virtually connected, I acknowledge the traditional owners of Australia and recognise their continuous and unbroken connection to the land, waters and culture across the country. Today, I join you from the traditional land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I extend all of our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. I'd also specifically like to welcome any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are present with us today. Edugrowth is delighted to have many partners to support our work of accelerating the Australian EdTech ecosystem globally. Today's program is only possible through the support of the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. We are thankful for the support for this program via the Australia-Vietnam Enhanced Economic Engagement Grant Program that will see us deliver a series of programs to connect Australia and Vietnam EdTech communities over the next few years. I would now like to welcome Rebecca Ball, Senior Trade and Investment Commissioner for Austrade, to officially open the program.
Thank you, Luke, and Xin chào quý vị. Good morning, everyone, and greetings from Ho Chi Minh City. I'm really pleased to welcome participants from both Vietnam and Australia to this inaugural EdTech Innovation Summit. It's a great initiative to connect Australian and Vietnamese EdTech sector experts. This initiative is aligned to our bilateral strategic partnership, the Enhanced Economic Engagement Strategy between Vietnam and Australia, where digital transformation of education and training is a priority for both Vietnam and Australia. Our Austrade team in Vietnam and our colleagues in the Department of Education Skills and Employment are pleased to be able to support Edugrowth as the delivery partner of today's program, which is funded by the Australian government through our colleagues in the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. It's amazing to have a great number of participants today. I understand from our hosts that we've got around 400 people who are going to join in on the course of the program from a range of diverse backgrounds and experience across policymaking, EdTech enterprises, educators across different levels from K12, vocational training, and also higher education. This summit presents a great opportunity for participants to get both a comprehensive overview of the EdTech ecosystem and capabilities in both our countries, but also is the precursor to our ambitions to realise a EdTech network in Vietnam with Australian collaborators this year. It's a great chance to discuss possibilities, learn from experts in the field, and as Vietnam emerges as a high growth market in EdTech solutions and services, we are really buoyed and excited about the uptake, given the high penetration of internet use. Around 94% of Vietnamese people use the internet regularly, with an average of around 6 hours per day. So maybe an issue around screen time, but as long as they're learning and sharing and collaborating and looking at ways to share information and learn from one another, it's wonderful news. The education market itself, the sector is growing because education is a fundamental priority of the Vietnamese government and people. There's about 24 million students at any given moment studying from early childhood right through to higher education, with around 53,000 education institutions and nearly 1.5 million teachers. And we do a lot of work with the teacher community too, to build, I guess, the pedagogy and delivery to build our standards across our systems. And that's where our partnership, both on the policy side and the practitioner side, with our colleagues in Moet here in Vietnam are particularly important. The COVID outbreak has and continues to challenge all of us and our families and our students with being able to maintain momentum in education and training, and that this is a really moment in time where there's a transformation in Vietnam, moving from the physical classroom to blended learning with online, and there is a groundswell now to adopt and adapt for that type of different, a wide range of online learning solutions. Most importantly, the government of Vietnam is a very strong partner and has a strong commitment to the development of the country's IT sector. And I'd particularly like to welcome Madam Thuy, the Director General of the Higher Education Division of the Ministry of Education and Training. Madam Thuy and her team are great friends to the Embassy and the Consulate, and it is wonderful to see her joining today, and I look forward to hearing from her. This is a flagship program, and the cooperation between both our Education Department and MOET is really wonderful to see how this initiative is supporting that broader policy development and capacity building in higher education over the past 3 to 4 years. So I'd now like to pause there, because I really look forward to hearing from our practitioners, Mr. Phuong, Mr. Watts, and Mr. Greentree, and it is really important that we listen and learn from the providers in both Australia and Vietnam to see where we can really take this to another level. And more than happy through our team with Austrade and Department of Education, Employment Skills, and in my colleagues with Jennifer Barn, our counsellor in Hanoi, that you reach out to our teams for further assistance, and through our partner here with EdTech. So wish you all the success with this program. It's definitely a great step forward as we develop our bilateral EdTech community, and certainly a really important part of our economic engagement between Vietnam and Australia. All the best for the program, and look forward to hearing from our speakers. Back to you, Luke.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I would like to acknowledge and thank members of the Vietnamese government present with us today, as mentioned by Rebecca. Please welcome Nguyen Tu Thuy, Director of the Higher Education Department for the Ministry of Education and Training, to share a few opening remarks to start off the program.
Yeah, thank you very much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor today to attend with you at the event Australia-Vietnam EdTech Dialogue, co-organized by the Australian Trade and Investment Commission in collaboration with EdTech Agency and EduGrowth. Education is now one of the area of top priority for investment in the National Digital Transformation Program in Vietnam. And in recent years, Vietnam Ministry of Education and Training has promulgated a series of policy and plans through legal documents, policy and guidelines related to technology application in education. It has shown the determination of our ministry in the digital transformation of the education sector towards developing e-government, innovating the teaching models in line with the global development in order to train and foster our citizens with capabilities and skills up to the international advanced standards. Currently, Vietnam's education sector has been speeding up the execution of digitalization and build a shared database from the central government to 63 provincial departments of education training to more than 700 district departments of education training and about 53,000 educational institutions. And the whole sector of our higher education institutions and colleges have also quickly applied digitalization in training management system in their campuses to improve the efficiencies of operation and governance. The digital resources and learning materials enriched in schools' library and the integration of numerous or other open learning sources around the globe are now significant knowledge stores to provide our students with effortless and very effective access. In the last 2 school years, the education sector has been heavily affected by the prolonged COVID-19. Most of schools have had to convert to online learning, and thanks to earlier preparation, educational institutions in Vietnam have adjusted in a quite flexible and effective way to avoid interrupting the teaching and learning process across the country. and also show the readiness of our schools, universities, lecturers, and students to apply EdTech in teaching, learning, and doing research as well. Ladies and gentlemen, along with the success in the digital transformation in Vietnam education sector, especially in the past 2 years, we should mention and highly appreciate the crucial efforts of our both domestic and foreign partners, corporations, to provide EdTech solutions. Vietnam EdTech has now become very attractive field for large investors. The country is now one of those having the leading EdTech industries in Southeast Asia. Name a few: Viettel, VNPT, APT, Topica EdTech, or MISA, One Edu, etc. are pioneer corporations in Vietnam that have made an enormous contribution in this field. And besides, we have also received significant support from foreign partners from your technology application and online learning solutions. And Australia is one of the best destinations chosen by many Vietnamese students with a worldwide highly appreciated education system in a country with numerous top EdTech products globally, one of which is Moodle, for example. Vietnam's education sector certainly wish to learn more about Australia learning models for further cooperation and development. The discussion today, I think, will be a very favorable bridge between EdTech Vietnam and EdTech Australia in accelerating the digital transformation process in education, and also to developing new learning models that are helpful for producing high quality and qualified human resources. So the event today has a significant meaning in international cooperation on EdTech in general. I hope this event will contribute effectively to further strengthening the linkages between universities and businesses to create breakthrough and helpful solutions in innovating learning models and supporting teaching, learning, doing research, and also executive management and governance. And that will definitely contribute to equipping our learners with relevant knowledge and skills in the context of globalization. Also to further expanding the collaboration with our international partners. Taking this opportunity, I would like to thank the organizers for your very hard work, and thank you all for your presence today in the conference. And I love to wish you great health and happiness, and our event a great success. Thank you very much, and enjoy the event.
Thank you so much. I would again like to thank Rebecca and Nguyen for their remarks to set the tone of collaboration between Australia and Vietnam that this program is designed for. Today's program is divided into 3 key focus areas: K-12, higher education, and the Australian EdTech landscape. Today's program will highlight some exceptional companies in EdTech from both Australia and Vietnam through the showcase portion of the program. You can also connect directly with companies by visiting their expo booth. You can visit their expo booth at any time, but company team members will be present in their booths at the close of the formal program. I will share more details with you on that later on. We're also delighted to host some of the foremost thought leaders in the Australian and Vietnamese EdTech sectors in conversations on the K-12 and higher education innovation, closing out with the discussion from the government representatives on the EdTech capabilities of Australia. You will notice the program for today to the right side of your screen. To find specific timings for each program, you can personalize your agenda by scheduling reminders for sessions of special interest to you. Attendees, if you have any questions for any of our presenters today, please ask them in the chat box to the right of the screen. So let's get on to the first showcase of the program. I'm delighted to welcome Fiona Ong, the Commercial Service Channel Manager, Asia Pacific at Moodle, to present. Sorry, Fiona, we can't hear you at the moment. No, sorry, you still...
Sorry.
Ah,
yeah,
there we go.
Now can you hear me? Sorry, I was on mute.
No, no
Sorry
problem.
about that. Okay.
So when you're ready to share your screen?
Can you see my screen now?
No, not yet.
I have already shared it.
Oh, there we go. Fiona, we have it. Oh, sorry, it just dropped away.
Okay, let's do that again. All right, let's try that again. Does that work now?
Not yet. Yep. Oh,
All good?
if you do present to mode, there we
Yes.
go. Perfect.
Right. Okay, sorry for the little hiccup. Really nice to meet all of you. Thank you for having me here today. I just wanted to briefly introduce you to Moodle. I'm sure most of you have already heard about Moodle and who we are and what we do. But in case you haven't heard about us, this is who we are. We are the world's most customizable and trusted online learning solution, and we're actually the world's most popular open source learning management system. Currently, as of today, we have more than 300 million users worldwide. And we know for a fact that we have a lot of users in Vietnam, that are actively using the Moodle platform. As of today, we have more than 100 certified service providers across the world. And these are basically Moodle partners who we rely on to provide services to our Moodle customers across the globe. We have over 180,000 registered organizations, and these are the organizations that have actually officially registered their Moodle sites with us. So in actual fact, the number of Moodle users probably is about double or even third-fold of that, because Moodle LMS is actually an open source platform. That means that anybody can actually go and download Moodle for free and use it, and they're actually not always registered with us. So the 180,000 sites that we know of, these are just the ones that have chosen to officially register their sites with us. The great thing about Moodle is that we have a really, really strong global community of users, and our users are very active in contributing their knowledge and their expertise back to Moodle. One such example is the vast directory of plugins that we have. So as of today, we have nearly 2,000 open source plugins. And these are plugins that are developed not only by our community of users, but also other organizations that have chosen to develop a plugin that integrates with their product. As of today, we have over 160 language packs available, and that includes leading languages like Spanish, Japanese, French, German, and of course, Vietnamese. So just a quick slide that shows the Moodle ecosystem. So when people talk about Moodle, they're basically talking about Moodle LMS. Moodle LMS is our most popular and our legacy product. That is our open source learning management system. But in actual fact, we have other offerings that support the Moodle LMS, which I'll just quickly talk about here. So we've got Moodle Workplace, which is a product we launched about 2 years ago. And Moodle Workplace is an extension of the Moodle LMS. The Moodle Workplace product is a product that we built specifically to cater to workplace learning environments. These are really targeted towards corporate organizations that want to focus on their learning and development structures. So the Moodle Workplace platform actually has additional features and functionality that you do not find in the Moodle LMS platform. For more information, obviously, you can go to our website and you'll be able to find a lot more information about what the Moodle Workplace platform is. We've also got Moodle apps. We've got a number of different plans, but essentially the Moodle app allows you to take your Moodle platform offline on a device, and basically it is everything in your Moodle site you'll be able to do on your Moodle device. So we've got a big apps team that is dedicated to enhancing and improving our Moodle app plans, and so keep a lookout for that as well on our Moodle website. You'll be able to see all of the different plans and the different features that come with those plans. The MoodleNet product, that is actually something we're working on. It's currently in beta testing. So the MoodleNet product is going to be essentially a social platform for educators to curate and share their learning resources globally. So I guess in some ways it's a little bit like Facebook, but for educators and teachers globally. Again, that's something that you can find more information about on our website. And to support the products.
I'm just going to have to cut you off there.
Okay, sorry.
Wrap up really quickly.
Yes.
Any final remarks?
Yep. And just to show you, these are some of the leading customers that we have using Moodle globally. We've got some of the leading universities as well as some of the leading organizations out there. So for any questions, please go to our website, get in touch with us, and we'll be more than happy to follow up with you. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Fiona. I'd now like to welcome Travis Gandy, the Chief Operating Officer at Compass, to join the stage. Hi, Travis. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Luke. How are you?
Good, thank you. So we can hear you now when you're ready to share your screen. The stage is yours.
Let's go. Luke, can everyone see that?
Not yet. So if you just go into present mode now, you should be fine.
Have a look here in present mode. Present view. There we go. Is that working?
Perfect. All yours.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks a lot, Luke. So, hi everyone. I'm Travis from Compass. Compass is Australia's leading school management platform. Hopefully today we can run through a few little things, but I thought the best place to start is why we do what we do. So, at Compass, our mission statement is we're here to make your school day more productive. We want you to be more efficient. We want your staff to enjoy coming to school. We want your students to feel like they're having a thriving learning environment. And we also want to make sure your parents are engaged with your schools. So I thought it was a good idea to give everyone a bit of a view about our reach in the market. So in Australia, as we've seen in Vietnam, COVID-19 had quite a significant impact on the learning experience. So here in Australia, we were the third most used distance learning product after Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams. We've got 6 offices across the globe, including in Ireland and in the UK. About 200 employees at Compass, 2,000 schools using our platform, and around 1.6 million parents and students and staff using our app every single day. And as you can see here as well, Compass does an online payment platform for collecting school fees and contributions towards various items. As you can see here, that's quite a significant amount. If we have a bit of a look at what the Compass platform actually does, when we talk about school management, that can mean a whole range of different items, but you can see we break that down into around six or seven areas. So we cover attendance and wellbeing, school management and school reporting, communication, payment and consent, scheduling and events, learning and assessment, and as well hardware. So if we look at a reason why a school might choose to come to a platform like Compass, typically you'll have a range of other tools throughout the school. Maybe there's some spreadsheets, maybe there's some standalone databases that people have used. The idea behind Compass is we have the platform that will cover all of those activities that you do day to day. We'll keep all your data in one place, and it will allow you to make, as a school, better decisions because you can understand the whole student experience, all the engagement that a parent might have, as well as make sure your financials are under control. So hopefully that gives everyone a really quick view of Compass and the Compass platform. I can see that there's a couple of questions there. What sort of schools suit Compass? I think typically we suit very well schools that have a large number of students that are structured, have a number of structures around, especially if you're an organization who has multiple schools or a group of schools that want to come together and feed their data in. We work really well with those. We have quite a number of international schools that we've worked with, especially where English is the instructional language. So for us, those schools really suit us. And it says here around those schools having internal tools. I kind of touched on that before, but what we see there is it allows you to bring all that data into a consistent format and use that to inform your decision making going forward.
Brilliant. Thanks, Travis.
No worries, Luke. Appreciate your time.
No, not a problem. Thank you. You're answering the questions before I even needed to ask them. So great job on that. So the 2 questions that were asked, we also had another one saying many schools have an in-house built tools, databases, sheets to manage their school. Why do schools need products like Compass? So that was the other question that was asked.
Yeah, I think one of the main things that we see in those scenarios is often there's a dependency on the school to continue to invest in software engineers and people to manage those processes. As well as that, you have inconsistent data formats. So at Compass, we specialize in managing your data and managing your operations. And you as a school, you specialize in running schools. And hopefully we can use our products together rather than someone in the school having to dabble in the software engineering and business analyst space, which is extraordinarily challenging to work in.
Yeah, yeah. Fiona, thank you for joining us. I've got a few questions for you as well. So tell us about certified integrations. Sorry, Fiona, I've lost your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, all good.
Yes. Certified integrations are basically add-ons that you can plug into your Moodle platform easily. So these are products that we've already done the hard work on. We've done the prior testing to make sure that it all works. So it's easy for customers to just add it straight onto their Moodle platform.
Brilliant. And another question's come through. 300 million users worldwide is impressive. What are some of the reasons that make Moodle so popular?
The reason why Moodle is popular is a number of reasons, but basically if I can boil it down to three, it's because one, it's open source. So meaning that there are no hefty license fees to be able to use Moodle as a learning management system. Secondly, because it's open source, it's extremely customizable, which means that customers can actually tailor Moodle and set it up in any way that really fits their exact requirements. And thirdly, it's because of our community of users. As I mentioned in my presentation, we have a large community of users that contribute back regularly to Moodle and the code, and our community of users are really benefiting from that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. We've got another question that's just come through. How popular are school management apps for parents and students? Are there any trends? I guess that's to both of you.
Yeah. Travis?
Oh, yeah, I can go first. Sure thing. I think for us, we've seen, especially during the COVID period, parent engagements jump significantly. We find in our platform, somewhere around 90% of the parents engage at least twice a week. Prior to COVID and sort of the at-home challenges, we would probably have seen that number closer to 60%. So for us, we're seeing a big uptake from the parent point of view. And I think from a student point of view, where schools are closing, they're looking to products like ours and like Moodle with Fiona to help their online learning process as well.
Yeah, I mean, similarly, I think with Moodle, especially since the pandemic, a lot of schools are involving parents as well within the Moodle platform, so they can create, special roles for parents to come in and enroll themselves and look at the courses and look at the content. So yeah, definitely there is the ability for institutions, to involve guardians and parents actively.
Perfect. Once again, Fiona and Travis, thank you so much. If you would like to learn more about Moodle and Compass, you can visit both Fiona and Travis in their booths at the close of the formal program. So thank you once again. Now let's jump into the first in conversation for the program with K12 Sector Experts. It is my pleasure to welcome Tim Watts, the Chief Revenue Officer at Compass, to introduce today's session speakers.
Thank you very much, Luke. Hi, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be with you this afternoon or this morning, if you're in Hanoi. I've got a great panel to present to you today. First up, we've got Mark Greentree, who's the Acting Executive Director for Digital Learning with the New South Wales Department of Education. As a director, Mark has led the annual delivery of 30,000 devices to schools across New South Wales. He's a passionate educator to his core. He's been a teacher for over 25 years, worked in a number of low socioeconomic school communities to drive better outcome for students. And he's also been a school principal for 12 years. So welcome, Mark.
Thank you very much.
G'day, Mark.
Hi, thank you.
To the panel. I'll introduce our second speaker, Mr. Ton Quang Quang. Quang is the Dean of the Faculty of Educational Technology at the Vietnam National University. And this is the first EdTech faculty in Vietnam. He's the Vietnam Ministry of Education and Training Consulting Specialist on EdTech for K-12 education, professional standards for teachers, and development of training programs for teachers too. Welcome, QUAN. Hello, QUAN. Good to have you on the panel. Fantastic. Well, let's get rolling. I'm going to start with just a bit of scene setting for our discussion today. Mark, could you start us off? You're involved in a really interesting initiative called Technology for Learning in your role at the department of recent years. I know this has been an absolutely breakthrough program. Can you give us a bit of a sense of what the objectives were and, you know, a bit of a flavour of that initiative?
A really interesting initiative called Technology
Tim,
for Learning.
we've just got a bit of backlag, so I don't know whether you can hear that coming
I know
through.
this has been an absolutely breakthrough program.
But how are we going now? I've got a message that says that the host has muted my mic.
You okay there, Mark? You're having some audio problems, or?
Let's see if that has fixed it at all. Are we good now? Can you hear me now?
So.
Thank you. I've got a note on my screen. It's telling me that my mic's muted, but obviously it's not. So thank God for that. Yeah, look, my role, I'm currently the Acting Executive Director for Digital Learning, which is a new step that the department has taken in its recent restructure to make an end-to-end delivery of service, from delivering devices, the frontline services to support those devices, the teaching and learning that wraps up into those devices to use in our schools, and then also our online presence and our online learning content. So the Technology for Learning program spans back to about 16 or 17 years ago. Its nickname is T4L, and essentially it was the delivery of devices into schools for students to have greater access to technology. When I took on the portfolio about 5 years ago, my passion as a former principal and a teacher of 25 plus years was about actually trying to leverage that technology to get the students to use the technology more effectively to drive their engagement and their performance. And off the back of that, we started some innovative programs such as the STEM T4L program, which was about loaning equipment and kits of robotics and virtual reality equipment to schools. We had programs such as the Technology for Connected Communities, which supported rural and remote Aboriginal communities that were in isolated communities using the technology. And we've got a really big program at the moment called the Rural Access Gap, which is about trying to drive a bigger uplift to those schools that are isolated, because to give you context, New South Wales has 2,200 plus schools. We're the second largest jurisdiction in the world, and we're about 5 times the size of New York, that is the largest jurisdiction. So our footprint is so large, we actually have schools in different time zones. So it's quite the technologically challenging landscape, so to speak.
Fantastic. Thanks for that intro, Mark. Ton Quang Kong, perhaps you could give us a bit of an overview of your role at the Vietnam National University and the ongoing initiatives in EdTech that you are responsible for in the faculty. Can you hear me, Quang? Can you hear me now? I'm just asking, would you mind giving us a bit of an overview of your role at the Vietnam National University and the ongoing initiatives in your faculty? We're just having some trouble hearing you, I think, Quang. I don't know if your microphone is on.
Sorry, Tim. Quan, we're going to resolve your audio and then add you in a minute. So Tim, Mark, if you want to continue the discussion, and we'll bring Quang back in.
No worries, no worries. Well, one of the first themes I wanted to explore in our conversation today, Mark, was the role of leadership in the school. So your principals, your deputy principals, your other important leaders in the school community. Obviously, important decision makers for the overarching direction of schools, and you know, a say in important decisions regarding infrastructure and software and systems. What's your advice to school leaders who are contemplating a stronger embrace of technology to try and improve their learner experience in their schools?
Yeah, good question, Tim. Look, the term we're currently using and referring to is digital maturity, and the capacity of leaders within schools to exercise a greater level of digital maturity to balance out the decisions around the purchasing of technology, the life cycle management of that technology, and then the effective application to drive pedagogical improvement and pedagogical change in their schools. So in terms of some of the programs that we're doing, we recognize the fact that the principals and school leaders are largely still fairly uncomfortable in that digital space. So as digital immigrants teaching digital natives, it is that challenge. And to look at from a bright side or a glass half full perspective, the COVID pandemic in New South Wales and Australia actually had a positive push on being able to drive that agenda, in the fact that technology was just seen as something else that was added to the educational space, whereas COVID really made it become an essential part of our landscape. We switched from a face-to-face learning to online overnight. We went from a model of teaching and learning that we've been putting in place for over 100 years to suddenly a whole new different model. So now the true value and the capability behind technology became very much apparent. And now what we're looking at is trying to drive further improvement and change off that newfound knowledge and respect for the technology platform. So a lot of the programs we're doing, we're looking at how we can support schools in, first of all, understanding where they are in terms of their digital maturity. And we've built a digital maturity framework for schools to work through that. And then what we're doing is we're providing tailored professional learning for school leaders and school teams to be able to move forward in their planning and strategic implementation, so that once our programs cease and we can take a step back, schools should be able to start to make those fundamental decisions that will actually drive ongoing and incremental change.
So Mark, can you give me a bit of a snapshot of the stages in that digital maturity framework that you were calling out there? Because I suppose if you are a school leader and you're thinking about how to go about this, it's intimidating. There's a lot of infrastructure to think through. There's the devices in the hands of both your teachers and your students to think about. And then there's the plethora of different categories of software product that help you either in the classroom or administering your school or test preparation and so on. What are some of those sort of stages in there, and what do they mean in terms of your options as a school leader?
You're right, and the way you're calling it out kind of highlights the challenges that sits and how intimidating it can be for schools to actually make those decisions. So a few years ago, we put together a toolkit called ICT Plus. Plus actually stands for Planning, Leading, Utilising and Strategic Implementation of Technology. That toolkit was just a simplified toolkit that enabled teachers and school leaders to actually track and view how the technology resources in their schools were being used. So that was simply implementation side. The next phase of it has been this digital maturity framework, which is built around a statewide model that we currently have in terms of what we call the School Excellence Framework. And that really is built around how we can improve student learning and performance and actually push school improvement as a whole. We took that and we made a rubric for schools to be able to work their way through. And we looked at a foundation level to basically a beginner, an intermediate, and advanced level. And then what we have is we have a team of people we call the digital support team who go into some of the schools, and we're actually rolling this out as a large scale pilot at the moment. We're going into schools, having a sit down conversation or in this case online, with the school leaders to actually ask some questions that are built through this rubric around how they use the technology, how they see the technology, what their plans moving forward are, whether they're a BYOD school, whether they're planning for bring your own devices, whether they're just a school supplied device sort of scenario, and how they actually utilize the technology in their teaching and learning. The software, that sort of question or that conversation comes a little bit later, but we've also started to work to provide what we call the Universal Resource Hub, which enables teachers and school leaders to be able to go into one location for a one-stop shop where those types of resources are basically curated and actually directed towards specific syllabuses that we need to deliver as part of the New South Wales curriculum.
Mark, I'm just picking up one of the questions from the audience. There's a reference there one of our listeners is really eager for you to elaborate a little bit on some actual schools who maybe benefited from the T4L program or the Rural Access program. Just trying to understand what the arrival of that program, where it was successful, what kind of transformation are actually made to the learner experience in some of those schools, and just to try to make it feel a bit more tangible if possible.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sure.
So Mark and Tim, just before you answer that, we've got Ton back, so just bringing him back now.
Wonderful. Welcome back.
Hi, QUAN.
Look, Tim, if you like, I'll quickly answer that question. We'll then jump back to Tom just so I can answer
great idea.
The T4L, or the Technology for Learning program, actually supports all 2,200 schools in the state. So on an annual basis, we roll out about $25 million worth of technology to all schools, based around a ratio of 1 to 6 devices for students in mainstream schools and a 1 to 2 device to student ratio in special purpose type schools or schools of specialist settings. The rural access gap is focused around targeting 1,004 schools that have been identified through their rural and remoteness, as opposed to their location to regional and metro areas. Now, historically, those areas have had very poor access to infrastructure, very poor access to networks, and also due to their location, have found it very difficult to get even support from people in Sydney or in metropolitan areas to be able to make their way out into these country regions. This whole model has flipped on its head, and a lot of focus and a huge investment, $338 or $368 million, has been invested then to actually put more technology into the schools, upskill those teachers in how to use that technology, and also provide a greater level of access so that they can connect remotely with their city or inner city colleagues. And on the back of that, there was also an investment with our major telco in Australia of another $300 million to actually remove satellites from those schools and actually get some faster fiber connections, which has made a huge impact on the learning outcomes for those schools as well. So,
thank you, Mark. We might now turn to our second speaker, QUAN. I might just get you to summarise the basket of responsibilities you have and the initiatives that you're currently leading in your roles at the Vietnam National University, and also as a consulting specialist on EdTech for the Ministry of Education and Training. What are some of the major initiatives you are working on right now?
Yes, thank you. So, as you see, nowadays with the emergency of ICT in Vietnam, the government took many initiatives to promote Internet of Things, big data, 4G, LTE, 5G, and artificial intelligence in Vietnam as well. Along with the entry of 4G and 5G network, the total number of smartphone, internet connection, social media user or witness to increase, thereby improving the scope for digital learning within Vietnam. Moreover, this has helped K12 stand up and overcome the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic over the past 2 years. In that context, it can be said that Vietnam has formed a digital education market towards a smart education, especially K12. Focus on 4 dimensions of segmentation, issues, products, and technologies. Digital or e-learning market in Vietnam K12 education in grew positive way by the followings. By content and technology services. The market is dominated by the digital content revenue during the years 2019-2020, in particular during COVID-19 outbreak, when we promote disruptive classes but undisrupted learning period. Besides, the content developed by the EdTechs in Vietnam, the teachers themselves have also great digital content learning resources with free software distributed to students by different platforms.
Thank you, Quang. I might just interrupt with a question that's come through that you might be able to assist one of our audience to address. So I don't know if this has been a factor for Vietnamese schools, but has there been much fatigue or just lack of engagement during the COVID pandemic from students and teachers in Vietnam who are trying to maintain their classroom program and teaching over remote learning? Has that been a factor over the last year of the pandemic for your schools?
Right. So I could say the main initiative is package content B2C scenario. Customized tailored content has highest market share and specific learning objectives, which cannot be captured in a standard course. And the other hand, in the B2C scenario, standard content for individual personal use also cannot afford customized content, as it is very expensive and lack of standardized framework. But
I'll just ask you a question there on that B2C So are schools helping parents to choose among the software products and technology products that will help with their learning? Do the schools introduce these products to parents?
Yes, I mean the online sharing and online meeting solutions such as Zoom, MS Teams, Google Meet, and some others conducted by Vietnam providers, and online live section inside classroom or learning for learning at home also they use popularly. And the total number of students using PC and smartphones at home learning of the major reason for increase the demand of high-speed internet connection and equipment also. Besides, in Vietnam, LMS, smart class, smart authoring tools are designed, service are not given enough attention to develop and invest. It's also significant importance of implementation digital pedagogy approaches, a model of designing, delivering, viewing, tracking, and scheduling the content knowledge and other educational activities for inside classroom as well learning at home also. So therefore, package content, smart class, smart authoring, and digitized services also capture the remaining of serious budget.
Fantastic. I might just jump in and get Mark's perspective on this. So there was a reference there in what Quang was saying about kind of mobile devices in homes being more prevalent than traditional computing and laptops and so on. We have some jurisdictions in Australia which have banned mobile devices from the classroom because of the distraction factor. What would your advice be to policymakers and school leaders, Mark, on that question? The mobile devices versus the more traditional computing devices.
That's a great question, Tim, because funny that hindsight's 2020. So the fact that they've realised the folly of making a blanket rule, such as banning mobile devices, when mobile devices are probably the most prevalent device that enables online learning within the home environment. They've suddenly had to, I guess, ignore the policy a little bit for the benefit of online teaching and learning. And I think that policy may need to be reviewed in very short time. Because the recognition is the fact that in a number of households where we had multiple children that may need to share a device amongst many siblings, particularly in our low socioeconomic areas, every family usually had a mobile phone or a smartphone device that they were actually able to use to engage with some online learning. So I think that thinking needs to be readjusted. I understand the concept of perhaps the framing of the wording and the rhetoric around it about the fact that the distraction of those devices and the way in which they may be used in a school needs to be monitored and tracked. But I don't think that they can put a blanket ban across mobile devices because of the benefit that enables students to engage online, both inside and outside the school environment. We still do have a number of school families right across the state that don't have a proper internet connection in their home, but they can connect to the internet via their phone. So we do need to look at a flexible way to enable that equity of access for all students.
Thank you, Mark. Quang, what about in Vietnam? You mentioned before the importance of mobile devices, mobile phones. What's the biggest benefit you have observed amongst students who are making use of mobile devices in their learning? Where are you seeing really positive benefits?
So I consider the mobile device are very convenient to use for students as well for teachers, because now we try to develop the mobile learning platform, mobile learning framework toward the personalized, immersive or seamless learning. And on the other hand, content editing tools are very convenient in mobile device. Gamification, simulation, virtual reality, augmented reality, or extended reality have highest market share and make up more perspective in the near future to increase and enlarge the physical cyber learning environment, or connect within students, parents, and teachers. And by using many apps in the mobile device, the students also can design themselves new apps and new application of learning activities and learning management process also.
Fantastic. Mark, can you talk to me a little bit about what parents in the schools that you work with in New South Wales, is the sort of the role of the parent kind of helping learning along the journey? Does technology help the parent get involved in the classroom and in their child's learning? Does it have that role in your view?
Certainly. Look, parents are the first teachers of children, and they are the best supporter of students in the house, particularly if they're informed and confident. We found that through the online learning period that was impacted by COVID, that one of the biggest impactors on student performance and I guess student progress in the house was the confidence level of parents. In fact, I sat in a very similar type of presentation to parents that was run by the department to talk about the fact that parents just needed to not worry themselves too much about getting it right, but just giving it a go. One of the key supports that we provide for parents is we've set up a parent hub. We during the pandemic, we actually had an online parent resource that they could go to. We called it the Learning from Home resource. There was a lot of learning materials with some support videos that actually guided and supported parents on how they could work their children through basic to even more complex mathematical activities, for example, or how they could support them with some basic literacy and numeracy. And this time round, with the impact of Omicron with our schools, we've also developed some online learning packages that essentially can be downloaded by students in the home and not really require the parents to provide support, but maybe just be the support over the shoulder, the ones that encourage and just sort of like say, hey, how are you going? Have you finished this task? Because we don't want to put the burden of teaching and learning on parents, but we certainly want to make sure that we've got that very clear communication, that support network that the parent and the student feel comfortable to learn.
Thank you, Mark. Quang, let's talk about teachers for a moment in Vietnam. Many teachers have been teaching for many years, many decades, using traditional methods, blackboards and whiteboards and textbooks. For those teachers who are not used to utilizing technology in the classroom, what have you seen as being a successful model for experimenting and being able to innovate using technology when you, as a teacher, you haven't had much experience with that before?
Yes, it's actually a crucial issue because we have to make them more open-minded in terms of educational transformation. The first point is we have to train and enhance them the digital competence. The second, we have to train them the TPAC approaches, pedagogical approach. Technology, pedagogy, and content knowledge have to combine properly in the learning teaching process. And the last one, we have to equip them fully equip them the mobile device or digitized services. And additionally, I think the learning digital learning resources are very crucial issue for teachers now. And now in Vietnam, K12, we provide also the movement to encourage a teacher to design new digital learning resources to deliver to students. And now we also encourage them to invest into the digital content created by themselves, and we need a very large and unified platform or model of platform learning management system to store, to manage, and to deliver properly the digital learning resources for students.
Thank you, QUAN. Mark, do you have a comment on that issue from a New South Wales Department of Education point of view, that issue around helping teachers with their digital literacy and embracing some of the potential of these technologies?
Yeah, so this is something I've been passionate about for a long time, particularly from when I was a principal, because I used to, I guess, lead the New South Wales Principals Association on how we could actually improve precisely that, which is the confidence of teachers. At the end of the day, the difference between a good and effective teacher and one that isn't quite kicking goals is a level of confidence and competence. So in terms of the technology side of things, we're addressing that a number of ways. The Technology for Learning program, we actually have a website, and if any of the viewers want to check it out, it's just Technology for Learning or T4L, and there's a lot of resources there. We put a lot of webinars, webcasts, short video packages that enable anytime learning. We also run a podcast series for teachers to listen to in their own time. And we put in a lot of teaching and learning resources that provide that entry level, but then also we scale it up for the different levels of teaching experience there. The rural access gap, we've actually attacked it head on, where we've got funding to release a teacher within the school for 1 day a week to work as, I guess, a mentor for the other staff within the school. That person is called a digital classroom officer, and they'll work with mentors within my digital support team who'll provide that level of upskilling, that level of pedagogical knowledge and depth on how to use the technology, because it's more than just the technology, it's actually how you use it to drive student performance. And through that, we'll be able to upskill the rest of the state. So that's 1,004 schools that are targeted under that program. We just need to get the funding now to get the other 1,100 schools on board.
Fantastic. One issue that's been raised in the chat, QUAN, I was going to ask you about this, is one of the advantages of digital technologies, I suppose, is that it allows a bit more self-directed learning for students, that they can work at different levels even in the same classroom rather than all being in the same hard copy textbook. It gives the teacher the capacity to differentiate for different levels of ability and progress in the classroom. I wonder, is that an important issue for schools in Vietnam, and have you found technology has assisted in this area? QUAN, are you still there?
Oh yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. In fact, at the present, we also try to provide the personalized model for learning. It means we can divide students into different level, different attention or motivation, and then we have to package properly and suitable content by gamification, by content knowledge, by video, by quiz, something like that, and we deliver to the needed group of students. The first point, and the second, we had to think about the different tools, technology tools, because the digital equity is also crucial issue now. Some students are in the remote rural area. They have not the good connection, good equipment. So we try to design the suitable mobile device or something like that to provide them. And now in Vietnam, the government also have a very big propaganda to 1 million PC for students.
Wow.
I mean, yeah. And in this each PC or device, we try to manage differently the content knowledge, content package for the various needed from students.
Fantastic. I don't know if you have a comment from a New South Wales perspective on that issue, Mark, that sort of personalised sort of differentiation power of technology in the classroom?
Yeah, look, and that truly is the sort of like the unicorn direction that we want to head with technology. We're leveraging some of the tools from some of our key vendor partners. Microsoft, for example, I'll just call that one out, where there's some work going on in the University of New South Wales, where one of the professors there in the engineering, Dr. David Kellerman, is currently using AI to actually predict what some of the students may or may not be able to know by the end of the course, and therefore, based on those predictive technologies, they're actually able to have assigned, individualized and personalized coursework that will actually assist them as they complete the course. So there's a number of ways in which we're trying to use smart technology, the way we're trying to use and leverage technology, whether it's through reading assist and those types of new processes that are coming out through that platform, to enable students to work in an individualized way, allow the teacher to actually target their expertise in a strategic way with students, rather than trying to just teach to the middle or teach the whole class as has been done traditionally. The fact that you've got so much technology means now that you can also approach a subject or an assignment and certainly complete it in a majorly different way to everybody else, and still sort of meet the criteria. And the last thing we're doing too is we've introduced, as part of our standardized testing regime, a online, what we call NAPLAN Online, and that's our national testing for literacy and numeracy. And the actual test itself is a smart test that will actually adapt as the student completes the test, to give us a greater level of diagnostics around what the student can and can't do in their literacy and numeracy acquisition. So certainly a lot of opportunities there.
Would you like to comment on that area, QUAN, that idea of being able to kind of evaluate and do assessments to kind of size up and profile students throughout the school year? I wondered if you look like you had a question you could ask Mark about that area. Is that an area that there is great potential in Vietnam for also, the idea of those diagnostics to help teachers understand the level that their students are at individually?
Yes, Mark, now we strongly need the online proctoring, online evaluation technology, because it's still very challenging for us. But other learning activities we can cover, we can try, and domestic edtechs can take care for this. But online proctoring is very perspective now in Vietnam. Please share some experience or help us, support us to develop this aspect.
So online proctoring is quite a different sort of like beast, and if you search in Google, there's not a lot of very secure online proctoring solutions that can't be hacked in some way. But the NAPLAN online test, it's actually designed to be done in the localized school solution, where students will still complete it in a hall or a classroom, but they'll complete it within the department's network. It'll still be supervised by teachers that are actually present in the room. But the thing is, no test is the same for every student. So a student might answer a question, they'll have another different question randomized for them, and that question will change or moderate based on the accuracy of the student answering that question. So even if I was sitting next to somebody else and in previous years copying off them or trying to copy off them from a paper test, I wouldn't be able to do that with this test, and it wouldn't serve me anyway, because my test would be individualized based around my performance. So we're just at the back end of doing a couple of years of pilots. We're about to roll into a full rollout across the entire state. So I'm sure we'll have some data and some information coming out very shortly with regards to the success of that solution, which I think is due to roll out around about June of this year.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I think I'm being given the signal from our organisers that we've reached the end of our panel discussion. Thank you both so much for your comments today. I'd like to thank, on behalf of all our audience, Professor Ton Quang Quang from the National University of Vietnam and Mark Greentree from the Department of Education in New South Wales. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Pleasure. Cheers.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thank you so much, Tim. What an insightful discussion. So I hope you all enjoyed that one. I'm delighted to now welcome to the stage the next showcase presenter, Tuan, the co-founder and vice CEO at Techie, to the stage. Tuan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Hi. Can you hear me?
We can certainly hear you, and now we can see your screen. So when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'm Tuan, Vice CEO of Techie Holding. So I'm really honored today to introduce about my company. So let's talk about who we are. So Techie founded in 2016, and our mission is to empower the next generation in South Asia with STEM skill and digital literacy. So our vision is, I hope to be the #1 EdTech company in K12 education in Southeast Asia. This is my team. So at the moment, I'm in charge of academic sector. For our product, we provide two main products, which is technology course and K12 course. And with this product, we developed three main platforms. First one is Techie, the first and only Facebook Live platform for young coder and tech learner. Students here can share their projects, helping each other, and only focus on the technologies. And with that, we also develop a coding platform based on Scratch from MIT, and students can develop their project in this platform. For K12, we have Topi, which is a personalized learning platform to help students to understand what they need to learn and what they should learn and how they can improve their study. And we also developed this platform for teacher, so we call tutorial. So tutorial is can help the teacher to connect with each other. They can share their knowledge and any idea or how they teach. And also, if they teach in techie class, they can also manage their class. They can see how the teacher learning the progress and intervene with that. So we got 6 main sectors. First one is a live class. Student can study with teacher. We got a lot of digital content, which is pre-record video, a lot of reading topic, data warehouse for practice, exam, and mock test. We also have a lot of assessment, which very format, right? And have a different level of difficulty, also manual and auto scoring, hint, and a lot of mock test function. Like I said before, we got a social activities. Students can share their profile and project. We focus also on learning with gamification to engage students with study. And we got a very important area, which is learning report and analysis. With that, teacher can see what their teacher is studying, how they can intervene with their progress, and also students can understand that which path they should follow, which skills they need to improve, and maybe which skills they can skip. This is our coding platform and K12 platform. We already opened Techie for 5 years, and at the moment we got 16 offline centers in 5 big cities in Vietnam. We got a strong network with school and has been promoted in 15 provinces, and already more than 1 million students has interacted with us. And we got also have other social platforms like YouTube and Facebook, and got like 500,000 subscribers. This is how we want to broaden our partnership. Every year we open international and national competition with our partner. For academic side, we work with like leading world-class academic partner to deliver the best content to students, and we also work with school to open regular and after class.
Sorry, Tuan. Sorry, Tuan. I'm going to have to cut you off there. Do you have any final remarks? I've got a few questions that I'd love to ask before we move on. So, before we move on, as a personalized learning platform, how does Techie help students improve their learning?
Okay, so for personalized learning platform, we've developed the skill for student. So every courses has the learning outcome. So we break down the outcome to skill. So every skill they got the exercise to pass that skill. So every skill they got the prerequisite and supplemental skills. So based on that, we can build the learning path or learning trees for the student. So every student who study in Techie, they can see that which path they should follow. So in that part, they can see which skills they have complete, or which skills they need to improve, and even the skills they can skip. So the teacher and student can see clearly that how their learning progression affects their study.
Perfect. We've just got another question. Please tell us more about technology courses which are being taught in Techie.
Okay. In Techie, we got 3 main categories. The first one is programming and application. The second one is robotics. The last one is 3D design. So for at the moment, we already developed 10 courses, and every courses has 140 lessons. So totally we got the 1,044 lesson. And in each lesson, we got the project and the topic, the technology and computer science topic. So every project in each lesson, we will have to solve a problem or relate to that topic. So we cover all the aspect in the technologies.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Just to the audience, if you'd like to learn more about Techie, you can visit them in their booths and they'll be there at the close of the formal program. So thank you once again. That was really, really informative. Thank you, QUAN.
Okay, thank you.
So now we are heading into higher education focus for today's program. I would like to welcome 2 Australian companies to stage to present their solution, starting with Matthew Dale, the founder of Educonomy. Hey, Matthew.
Hi there. How are you going, Luke?
Very well. How are you?
I'm really well. Hopefully you can see my screen okay.
I can see and I can hear. Are you presenting? Brilliant. The floor is yours, Matthew.
Fantastic. I'm here today to talk a little bit about the work that we do here at Educonomy with education providers. We don't have our own tech platform as such. Rather, we work with tech platforms to help them take their technology out to the education sector. And we also help education providers adopt and get the most out of the tech platforms that they're working with. Our purpose is to help education providers to shift into the future and to meet the needs of tomorrow. My name's Matthew Dale. I'm the founder of Educonomy. I'm also the co-founder of Audit Express, and I've been working in the Australian vocational education and training for the past 15 years. If we're not connected already on LinkedIn, by all means, do scan the QR code on the right-hand side of the screen. Before I share too much with you, I'd like to acknowledge the country that we meet on today. I'm in the Wurundjeri lands of the Kulin Nation here in Melbourne, Australia, and I'd like to just pay my respects to our elders, both past, present, and emerging, and to any other Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people that may be here with us today. The way that we learn and work is changing right before our eyes, both here in Australia, in Vietnam, and across the rest of the globe as well. The COVID pandemic has made us really rethink the way that we teach and learn. And this is going to be the new normal. There's been a good amount of research into the long-term effects of COVID on education. And we're certainly seeing here in Australia, those providers that have shifted online are seeing this as a long-term viable option. We work with our clients to find tech solutions for complex problems. And we help you to implement, optimize, and get the most out of the technology solutions that you're using in your organization. Our team support you to shift learning from classroom to online. And that means that learning can take place anywhere at any time and from any device. We do this in a number of different ways. And the first thing that we start to look at is how your tech stack, so how all of the technology that you're using across your organization integrates and works with each other. And we also look at where the data is stored and how secure the data is, and the type and the level of support that you're receiving from each of the tech platforms that you work with. The other area that we focus on and do a lot of work in is in the design and in the implementation of both micro-credential and digital badging frameworks. In Australia, micro-credentials are used in a number of different ways. They are often offered in addition to a formal qualification or alternative to a formal qualification. Sometimes they're complementary to a formal qualification or even a component of. We've recently completed a really exciting project with TAFE Victoria, and we've supported TAFE Victoria to establish a micro-credential framework that Victorian TAFEs are going to be taking out to the globe, and that'll be offering non-accredited micro-credentials, some really high-quality non-accredited micro-credentials in a range of different areas, ranging from hospitality and tourism, green energy, building and construction, all the way through to manufacturing. So that's something that you might want to keep your eyes out on. I know there's some Victorian TAFEs that are really excited to be taking their micro-credentials to Vietnam in the year ahead. When it comes to digital badging, we like to think outside the box, and we find all different types of purposes for digital badging, both within learning and education. And if there's anything that you're interested in talking about, or if your organization is needing support, I absolutely welcome you to reach out at any point in time via LinkedIn. And I might have saved you a little bit of time, so I'll stop sharing for a moment there.
Matthew, thank you so much for that. We'll come to questions. I'll get Mike to present, and then we'll have both of you for questions. So I'd now like to welcome Mike Swandler, the Director of Sales for Education Enterprise at Linneus. Mike, you there?
I am here.
Mike,
Thank you, Luke.
and we can hear you. Brilliant.
Ah, look at that. So first of all, Luke, I want to thank you and the rest of EduGrowth for having us here today, and especially everybody at Team Linneus. We're very, very excited to present. So why does Linneus exist? We absolutely want to elevate the educational, information, entertainment value of the world's video through hyper-personalization. Everything within a video is searchable for us. And we want to help everybody from students to educators to administrators to researchers to find those moments that matter. For hyper-personalized video, we allow educators and students to search down to the millisecond. We take a video and we virtualize it. We create that virtual copy and we put in brand new metadata and make the entire video searchable. So students can search videos with the same speed, granularity as searching for text and images on Google. You can search the word, you can search the face, you can search the class or topic. Educators, they can automate the whole creation and curation of personalized video compilations according to learner attributes. So we want educators to support personalized learning. Every student needs different materials to understand the course topics. We appreciate that. We support that through video. And academics and researchers, video libraries are vast. Universities around the world are these incredibly complex video-rich environments. We want you to find those deep moments that just can't be found with playlists or searches on YouTube and even searches on Google. So every environment, every university environment, every educational environment is a very bespoke system. And we understand that there are learning management systems that vary around the world. There's lecture capture, there's video management systems. We don't replace any of those systems or platforms. What we do is enhance and complement existing video and learning management capabilities. So we want to work with Moodle. We want to work with Canvas. We want to work with Echo 360, Kaltura. We will find any of that video where it exists and virtualize it and represent it for you. So most video products, and I think I just covered this, there's a playlist-based experience. And it's just, you type in the search and you find all of your videos on the right-hand side or left-hand side, wherever they are. And it's very much a traditional YouTube experience. That doesn't really cut it in education anymore. We recognize that and we appreciate that. We are the only technology in the world first, that can take and instantly assemble infinitely variable video streams. So that means you can have video in Zoom, Microsoft Teams, sitting in a SharePoint environment, sitting within Kaltura, Panopto, wherever that exists, find them all from multiple sources, and then reassemble them into one singular video. So why virtualize? Why not just present playlists and open into various different video repositories? Well, first, you have to be able to discover them. Some universities around the world have 500,000 to 750,000 hours of video. That's just not appropriate to watch in any topic. If there's 500 videos on a given topic, you won't be able to find them or digest them. So we want to find those moments that matter wherever they are. So discovery. Then we enrich it. Text is great. A lot of different platforms can give you that enrichment via text, but we can do it with AI, machine learning. So we'll be looking for transcripts. We will search by OCR, which is on-screen character recognition. So we can recognize slides or what's on the blackboard or what's on screen. Facial object recognition, scene recognition, so on and so forth. You virtualize, so you can search at the frame level. There's 28 frames per second across a minute, across an hour. That's a lot of frames. Every one of those should be searchable, just like every word in its document and every piece of punctuation. Custom video compilations.
Hi, Mike. Sorry, just going to jump in there. If you just want to just do any final remarks, I've got some questions for you as well.
Wow, was that 4 minutes already?
Goes quick.
That does go quick. So yes, so we virtualize to create custom video compilations and then share them on and store what you found. So you can find that for anybody. And I will cut that off now. Terribly sorry about that. I actually forgot to hit my stopwatch.
No, that's okay. Not a problem at all. I've got some questions for you. Someone has thrown a question in straight away. How is video virtualization different from typical video editing, rendering, and so on? How is virtualization better?
That is a fantastic question. I don't know who sent in, but I really like them. So virtualization is vital to save time and energy across a video library. So with video virtualization, we put in cue points at every piece of metadata. So every word allows us to just go find it. And we play a brand new video stream. So we're not replaying the video. We're just playing the original video, or we're not making a new video. We're replaying the original video where it sits. So when we make a compilation, we're actually viewing that in real time. There is no downloading. There is no rendering for distribution. There's no more encoding. There's no more transcoding. It is an instantaneous assembly and sharing.
Wow. Matthew, welcome back. I've got some questions for you as well. So what are some of the use cases for micro-credentials?
Thanks, Luke. So, look, there are many, many use cases. Where we're finding the greatest uptake is in markets where there is a high demand of training and a very short period of time for that training to be delivered. Often that'll be in areas like retail and hospitality where there is an immediate need to train people so that they can become job ready, but there's not often a huge amount of time for that training to be delivered. And the benefit of delivering it as a micro-credential is you can break the training down into very small bite-sized chunks, and the learners can complete that on the bus ride on the way to work. They can really do it anywhere at any time.
That's a perfect segue to my next question, which what are your tips for training providers that are wanting to offer micro-credentials?
For sure. Put your effort and your focus onto how you can break down the learning into small bite-sized chunks and include as much video and audio content as you can. Users don't want to be reading more text on the screen than they need to. If it doesn't need to be put down in text, if you can do it in video or audio, definitely take that approach. And the video doesn't need to be high quality content. Most of the learning content that needs to be filmed, you should be able to do from any smartphone. And TikTok style videos are proving to be more and more effective.
Brilliant. Is Mike still there? No, I think we might have lost Mike. Well, Matthew, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
That was fantastic. If you'd like to learn more about Educonomy or Linnaeus, you can visit them in their booths at the close of the program. So just remember to do that. Now, we're going to kick off the second in conversation for the program on higher education sector. It is my pleasure to welcome Gordon Scott, the Managing Director at Successful Graduate, to introduce today's session speakers. Gordon launched the Study Brisbane initiative in 2009. He is now the founder of two companies, Job Readiness Training and Successful Graduate. Gordon launched the world's first comprehensive online student career preparation and employability development resource at the successfulgraduate.com in 2016. The site hosts training solutions and support both institutions and students and graduates with the identification of soft skills and career preparation training. Welcome, Gordon.
Thanks very much for having me along, and it's a pleasure to be able to support the growth of both the Australian Vietnamese economy and through the growth of the EdTech sector to support our education environments. Look, I have the pleasure today of introducing two key speakers, one from Vietnam and one from Australia. We're not going to be presenting slides. This will be an open discussion today, focused upon what are some of the changes related to hybrid or flexible learning that we've experienced and perhaps anticipate in the higher education sector. So firstly, it's a pleasure to introduce Martin Dugimus, who is the founder and CEO of Moodle. The Moodle platform consists of a number of products, but the best known of these is the Moodle LMS. which allows educators in all sectors to create private educational spaces online filled with tools for collaborative learning. So Martin has a mixed academic background with multiple postgraduate degrees in computer science and education, 2 honorary doctorates, and is a member of quite a few boards around the world. So welcome, Martin. And secondly, we have the honour to introduce Mr. Nguyen Tan Nam, who is known as one of the 13 founding members of FPT Corporation. Mr. Nam has made significant contributions to this corporation before entering into the field of education. And in 2015, he was the founder of FUNI, a pioneer in online training in Vietnam. After more than 6 years of establishment, the company currently has over 5,000 subject mentors who are experts and advisors at prestigious IT enterprises, with about 15,000 students from 63 provinces and 34 countries. Welcome, Mr. Nam. Great to see you. Well, look, I think we should just jump straight into it. You know, today's topic is looking at what are some of the changes that have occurred in the higher education sector, particularly as they relate to hybrid learning. For mine, as successful graduate, we've seen a tremendous shift in the last 3 or 4 years by the university sector towards focusing upon employability outcome of their students. And so that is our focus. Martin, can you start by sharing what you and Moodle have in the roadmap for the rest of 2022?
Yeah, hi, thanks, Gordon, and hello, everyone. So Moodle's about 20 years we've been working on this, and since I started it. So I've seen a lot of things happen in the last 20 years, but mostly it's been not a big difference in how people are using it, but just like more people using things or doing those things in around online learning. What has sort of changed is, you know, when we started, there was no Facebook, there was no WhatsApp, there was no Twitter, and that side of internet technology has really, I think, brought everybody into a more collaborative relationship with the internet, where you're in these collaborative social spaces. And it's still very important, I think, that universities provide protected collaborative spaces where students and teachers can safely talk and explore topics and learn. And over the past 20 years, generally, we've moved to new user experiences. I guess as we've gotten more used to how these things work, the software has become simpler generally, and it's easier to combine media and platforms. And so that's the general trend, is sort of this user experience. And the same for Moodle. Moodle's had to evolve in user experience. And the big thing that we're doing this year, to get back to your question, is something we've been working on for 2 years now, which is a whole new user experience for Moodle. And we've changed the interface a lot, and been working with our community on streamlining the whole process. But essentially, the things that you do in Moodle are still the same, still needed, and haven't changed too much. But it's like, how does it look and feel, and how do we reduce the number of clicks, and how do we handle more people more easily, things like that. So that's
Thanks, Martin. And look, I think what I might try and do today as facilitator is introduce questions that are relevant to what you're talking about as they come in. And before we jump to Mr. Nam, I would like to ask you in a minute about some context setting. There's a very relevant question that's come through for you, Martin, apart from, you know, a little bit of fan praise. The question is, what are you doing in relation to the Vietnamese market at the moment?
Well, we have a Vietnamese language translation, and we've had that for many years, and that's a contribution from the Vietnamese community that have created that. And that's the thing about Moodle as an open source project, that we have a global community of people who help create it, both the coding and the development, as well as things like translation and documentation. So other than that, nothing particular. And actually, I would love to speak with more people in Vietnam, because there's not been much opportunity, actually. So always happy to have those discussions. And the sustainability of Moodle, we have a collection of businesses that do services around the world, about 100 companies. And we don't have one in Vietnam. So if there's anybody who wants to do Moodle services and work with us, talk to us.
Thanks, man. Well, look, now let's have a conversation with somebody in Vietnam. Nguyen, could you please share some details for us about your company? Now, I'm going to pronounce it as Funix. I hope I've got that correct, but it's spelled Funix. And I'd be very interested in your thoughts about what is the context for EdTech in Vietnam at the moment, and what does 2022 look like for your business?
Thank you, Gordon. Yeah. Hi, Martin. Yeah, you can congratulations to you. Yeah, Moodle is very popular in Vietnam, even with the Vietnamese interface. So you don't need to worry. Okay,
I've been around a long time, that's why.
Back to Gordon's question about, I'm very excited for 2022. Actually, the perception of people of online learning is completely changed, and I think that what we do, I'm very proud that we make it. We managed to make the online learning experience funny, and how to say it, people participate. They have they feel that they have the same experience, even better experience than on campus. Back to 6 years ago when I started Funix or whatever, Fuinix. It's like an experiment. I think that we think that with the internet, with the MOOC, with the communication tool like that, like streaming, Zoom, everything, so people can learn themselves. So experiment it, how fast and how long they can keep them motivated. Support, given they have the full support from us. And after 6 years, I see that, like I say, more than 15,000 people participate in this experiment, and 60% of them complete their course. It's very important, They prove that they can do it. What they can do. We offer 4 products on a degree. Degree on software engineering. It's awarded by our university partner. They can learn the 2 degree. Some learn very quick, within, let's say, 12 months. The record is within 12 months they complete. The university program. Many students even not finish school yet, already complete the program. Our second offering is job reading. Actually, very much like Gordon, like your company. You have 2 types of job reading. First one for the first job. The second one is for if you want to include your salaries, you need to learn more advanced technology, to improve your chance of employment, improve your salaries. And we offer also micro credential. I cannot say micro credential, but whatever you can learn from computer science. Say you want to learn language, you want to make website, you want to make game. So we offer every type of IT skill on our platform.
Well, we each represent companies which are suppliers to universities. Universities themselves have been through such an enormous change over the last couple of years, arguably because of the impact of the pandemic. So let me drop a big question in for both of you. Is the traditional university model now dead? Who wants to go first? Mr. Nam.
One thing I like is the university never die. You don't see any university die until now. So I think that university will exist, but they will change. They transform into the platform of self-learning. Actually, very much. I vision a future university and it's only is that the platform for people to learn.
I agree. I think the death of the university is something you've been hearing for decades, ever since, well, even like, when television was invented. But they persist, and I think there is a place for them. Definitely. I believe, actually, I love the old model of universities where you went there to study with a guru. Like, you went there to find great teachers, and it was about the culture. It was about being with thinkers, with academics, being part of research, being part of the conversation, pushing the boundaries where new stuff was happening. And I feel, if anything, the past decade has been a trend towards more producing workers and, making people have certain careers. And that's more of a, I guess, TAFE or polytechnic approach, but universities are kind of falling into it. So, yeah, I'm a big believer in the first model. I would love to see more.
So on this theme then of producing graduates which are able to enter the workforce quickly, something that's dear to all of our hearts, have traditional models been able to adapt quick enough to be able to take into account the needs of industry, particularly in the higher education sector?
Not enough. From Vietnamese experience, the university try hard, but I think that the whole traditional university now can supply about, I think, 40% the maximum of the demand of the industry. So the company have to train themselves. A lot of companies have to do themselves, because I worked in industry before, so I know. We don't have even enough the number. Not talk about quality. If they say I want to recruit 1,000 people, only about 600. I get only 600 applications.
So Nguyen, in Vietnam, are universities actively seeking EdTech partners to support them with their delivery of job-ready graduates?
Yes, exactly. Because university traditionally very conservative, so the university management want to cooperate with EdTech to encourage internet innovation. Very difficult for them to force the teacher to change. But I see that the many management invited me to come to them and to work with Phonics to give example of how the faculty can change.
Okay, thank you.
The second one, they want to move closer to industry, because like a Phonics, it organized by company, by industry. So we don't have a separation between the learning environment and the industrial environment. So by working with us, they want to move closer to industry to get better understanding of what industry need.
Now,
and
sometimes, thank you, Mr. Nam. Sorry, but because of the delay, sometimes it's difficult to be able to comment. I've got a question for Martin now, and it's one that's one might consider to be a Dorothy Dixer, but it's a true question. It's actually one that we spoke about last week, and that is, what steps are universities taking, and what further steps can universities take to reach more learners through the adoption of digital technology?
Yeah, as to what they are doing, I can't comment. I haven't done enough research to say what they're doing. I can only tell you my impressions from my interactions and also what I think they should be doing. I think they should be opening up to more. As a student, you should be able to very easily take a course at a particular university and maybe pick one from this university and one from that university and take control of your own learning. I think I would love to see that, and I would love to see the platforms, education platforms, make that easier. So there's more cooperation, I guess, between universities, and I'd also like to see a lot more involvement with industry in the universities. Where as an employer, I also hire a lot of people, and when I'm hiring people, I don't feel like the university someone came from has enough weight. It doesn't seem to matter that much, and I wish it did. I wish I could go, yeah, wow, you're from that university. We know you're going to be great, and I'm not sure how that works, how that linkage between quality industry
I think,
and should work.
in a sense, that alma mater concept doesn't really exist at least in the Australian context, like it does in a country such as the United States, where the university you go to really, really matters. And more importantly, where you've been and how you brand yourself throughout your career really, really matters. Is that the case in Vietnam?
Of course, it's everywhere. But the trend now is people don't look at the degree, where you come from, less and less. They more employer more rely on what you can do it now. What your attitude of learning is more important, especially in technology. It doesn't matter where you come from, but how you adapt to the change. It's where we want to address, we want to emphasize the phonics, how people quickly can change, adapt to the change.
Well, I think, yeah, and I agree, and I want to see more proof of skills. I want to see what skills does someone have. It's not that I want to rely on a name they came from, because actually I've known people from Harvard who doesn't mean they are good at anything. I want to really understand that somehow the university has proven to me, or allowed the student to prove that they are good at these things in a more direct way as an employer. So that skill recognition piece is sort of missing.
Look, I'm going to go there, and I'm going to talk about the development of soft skills and employability skills and job application skills, something that I'm passionate about, and it's the reason why I set up my business. Do we feel that we're still dealing with a lot of universities who are focusing upon hard skills only, meaning the academic learnings that the student is required to have in order to obtain a degree or a certificate related to a particular academic discipline? Clearly, what many students still require is the development of job application skills, critical thinking skills, leadership skills, personal skills, etc., the types of skills that employers also require in the workforce. So to touch on your point, Martin, have you seen any EdTech organisations or collaborations with universities in EdTech which are attempting to bridge this gap in soft skills development of their students?
No. No, I don't think I have. I think that'd be a really interesting area to explore. I mean,
we're talking after this.
Yeah, I want to know: is somebody proactive? Are they good at project management and time management? Are they a good team player? It's the sort of things you have. Those tests. What are they called?
Personal aptitude tests.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. That isn't standard or talked about that much. People say stuff on their LinkedIn and they say stuff on their CV, but you don't know. And you have a 1-hour interview to try and work it out.
Exactly.
But I kind of want something I can go, well, yeah, they definitely have those things and I can trust it. So in a way, those things are more important than knowing about a particular piece of information in their mind. Like, I don't, the fact that they have learned a particular fact is not as important as as when they're working for me, that they're going to be able to learn whatever they need to.
Right. Well, 100 engineering graduates that apply for a role with an engineering firm will all have the degree. So they'll all have the hard skills. How do you differentiate between them? The employer needs to establish how they're going to be a good fit for the organisation. They need to understand if they've got good communication and personality skills. Do they have self-awareness and understanding? I agree. And so, look, let's turn then to the Vietnamese context. This preparation of graduates in the higher education system for the workforce itself. Any comments from you, Nam?
My philosophy actually is not to win curriculum on soft skill, and instead you have to put them to real life as soon as possible. Actually, let them then learn from environment. So from Phoenix now, we let students meet with the CEO of company from the first days. You know, they have to interview, to ask questions to CEO. And I give you an example. We're working with the VNU, Vietnamese National University, on the course on entrepreneurship. But we don't teach because they can learn it. Entrepreneurship course everywhere. But we bring them to talk with entrepreneur, to apply for internship. So to make their life difficult, actually, make student life very difficult. You know, instead of learning, they have to change to face the many challenge from the employer in university before. You know, so when they graduate from us, you know, they will be actually 100% ready for the job. You know, they know everybody is a company. Even they know people meet the company before they join the company. Because of mentorship, because of talking, because of every day. So we do it every day. Thanks to internet, so because we do online, so it's quite simple to take the student to the company. You know, now take a click. You know, they already in the company environment.
If I could, to take that further, I was going to say, and you started touching on it, that the learning process has got to be similar to the sort of process that you have when you go to work. If you see university learning as, here is some information, we want you to put it in your heads, and then a couple of weeks later, you know, put it onto an assessment, into a quiz, that's not how actual life or work is. So you're not learning real skills. But if your learning environment is very collaborative, very project-based, you're in teams, you're presenting to each other, you're constantly creating things which your teammates and your people are also commenting and working on together, that's more like real work. And I think if you are learning engineering, for example, just keep that example going, that way, then you're going to be a natural fit in an engineering environment when you get out of uni. So that's why a learning management system and the way you use it is really important. It needs to be a collaborative space. It needs to be facilitated properly.
All right, well, gentlemen, given that I know there are plenty in the audience that will have questions, I'll ask them now to send some of those questions through on the chat. And meantime, let's look to the future. You know, let's look at where is the opportunity to elevate learner experiences and outcomes, as we've been talking about in the higher education space. And obviously, let's think about this from the context of the EdTech sector. So, Martin, you mentioned previously that at Moodle, you're going into research and development. Can you share where you think opportunities to improve might lay in this area?
We are going into I'm personally going into a period of R&D with my team and looking at developing something completely new, a new platform from scratch. And so it's really open. I'm opening up to all possibilities, and I'm thinking, what does a global learning infrastructure look like? And I think it's very important that the education community, the higher education community, who are mostly here today, that we think collectively, what is the platform we all want. Very much as we all contribute with scientific literature towards, truth. We write papers and we have studies in science because we are trying to establish truth. How do we all contribute towards a platform much like the internet itself? So the internet is full of standards. The reason this works today is because of IP and HTTP and all of these standards. On the education level, what is the standard best practice that we can agree on? That means if you are a lecturer this year, your skills will still make sense in 5 years when you move to another institution and another institution and another. And you're not always choosing new software all the time. There's some standard. And I think there's a real opportunity for education institutions to work together to help build that. And open source is the way. That's the best thing we have for working together. And standards. So I'm very focused on my mission, which is here, empowering educators. I would love to see an educator kind of have their own learning environment that they bring with them. So if an educator is working with an institution, their learning environment connects to the institution, and maybe more than one institution. And in that environment, they would build up their own content, their own artificial intelligence, their own methods. And that is the guru that students will be wanting to study with. Like you follow a big YouTuber or someone on the internet, you would follow this educator and you would join in with their practice, because that's a really great person to learn that subject from. And we don't have barriers anymore. We're not constrained to going to the university that's a few kilometers away. There's a globe. It's a small planet here, and we can study anywhere. We can study anywhere from anywhere. So we should build a system that is very global that way, and it should empower all countries to contribute to that global conversation. It shouldn't be dominated by like a big Silicon Valley thing. It should be like the internet itself, where we can all contribute, we can all build on it. And I have a lot more ideas, but I'll shut up because I not much time.
I mean, we do have a few minutes, so I mean,
excellent idea. I like it.
I want to unpack, how is that different to a MOOC? How is that different to a Coursera or a FutureLearn?
Well, it has some similarities with that. That it's the university, but like, how does that person? How are they supported? Who supports the platform? And you mentioned a few MOOC platforms, but none of them are compatible with each other. They're all different MOOC platforms, so they're competing in a way. I feel like, and also most MOOCs tend to be quite simplistic because they are. So yeah, they tend to be, content, video, assignment. Whereas, where are the virtual reality type spaces that are coming? Where's the AI for a student and an AI for a teacher? Where is the project work, the practical project work, or linkages to industry, like we were just talking about? So, how can you kind of? There's so many things, so many questions in there.
Oh, I tell you, they're popping up on my screen from the audience as well. People are jumping right into the detail. How do you maintain data integrity across interconnected LMSs, etc.?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the key thing is to get away from profit focus. So if you build things too much in the company, in a capitalistic corporate model of a profit focused company, and more towards academia, right? More about infrastructure and sharing, that these things become a lot easier. It's the way the internet itself was built. How do you maintain data integrity across interconnected servers on the internet? I could rephrase that question. It's solved. We've worked that out. So it's something we can solve, but we do need to want to solve it as a global community.
All right. Well, look, thank you. And I'll turn to you, Nam, for your thoughts on where you think the opportunity is to elevate learner experiences now in the higher education sector.
I think that the key point here is the engagement. I'm also I am a software engineer, but I am relying more on people than artificial intelligence. Actually, I think the engagement is very important for students. So in Phonics, we improve the student engagement every day. They communicate with each other, they communicate with students, they communicate with students, with the mentor, they communicate with staff, and we measure it. We measure the quality and quantity of engagement. And I see the clear correlation between the academic achievement and the engagement. So more students engaged, the better academic achievement. So
is community part of the solution there?
Yeah. I think community is solution. It's not part of solution. It's solution. And internet is facilitated. It is quite easy now. Like saying, just click, you can take the student to the company in that one click. They can take student anywhere, and they can go anywhere, and they can discover themselves. And I have a lot of example actually, real life example. It's the people actually very low background. It's not low, but nobody now. But give him the engagement. Give him the how to say, the key. Then they discover themselves, and very important, they confident. We always said that our objective of Phonics is to win self-confidence in the students.
So Vietnam's a market with some 24 million students and I think over 50,000 institutions. Clearly a very large education market. I'm sure there are many in the audience today that are wondering, is there an appetite in Vietnam for cross-border education modelling? Are there opportunities for EdTech companies to be able to support the education sector in Vietnam?
Actually, I am looking for a partner with an Australian company, actually, Australian university. And my daughter to learn in Queensland University of Technology. So I like the Australian way of higher education, very practical, very focused, and give a lot of freedom to students. And we think that now we can work like an extension of the, how to say, complement to the Australian university to reach Vietnamese market. So recently we have an agreement with Deakin University that students can learn on Phonics platform on almost 50% of the curriculum of the Deakin University, and they can spend 1.5 years in Australia to finish to get the degree. And I think this solution it save a lot of money for students and save a lot of effort from Deakin too.
Yeah.
So
okay.
really, I want to, if you know anybody want to work with us now, we'll be very, very happy to talk.
Well, look, thank you both for your participation. I might now turn to you to give you the opportunity to perhaps say a final few words. We have about 3 minutes left in the session, and I'll keep an eye on any other audience questions that might come up that are relevant to your comments. So, Martin, we've spoken about the past. We've looked at what's happened, during the course of the changeable market during COVID, and we've turned our attention to the future. From a student's perspective, you've also shared some ideas around how there could be a new model that's presented to enable students to be able to have a more bespoke learning experience through perhaps an entirely new marketplace. So your final thoughts on the topic related to changes in the higher education sector related to EdTech?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of thinking is sort of guided by what happens naturally. And I'm watching, my own children and the young people of today, and you watch them using Minecraft, and you watch them using Discord, the way they use TikTok, that it's not obvious. They're not just simple consumers. They're very much involved, and they're creating things, and they're very the way they pick and choose stuff. These kids are grown up with the internet now, so they're the first generation to fully, like, this stuff was around them and they're swimming in it. There's water. They can't even see the internet anymore. They're fish in the water. So it's not new for them. And so the future is about that generation, and what should education look like? If education looks like it did 20 years ago, for them, it's going to be very strange. It's not going to feel natural. They're going to avoid it. They're going to seek alternatives. That's why I feel like we need to work with what's really happening. So, look, I think all of us need to not accept that the way we used to do things is the way we should always do things. We need to look at our own context around us, look at the world, look at politics, look at how things are really working, and let's all rethink our own situation. Even if you're just teaching one subject, how does that subject, what's the best way to present that subject to students of today? And give it a shake and start again, rethink those foundations, because I think we need to renew, we need to refresh. And it's very hard to do that because, when you're in a job working in a university, you have a lot of constraints and not much time, and it's hard to do this stuff. But I think it's worth us all reevaluating.
And look, in case we get cut off, I'll just say now, thank you to both of you for your participation today. If we have 10 seconds left, Nguyen, your thoughts as to the future from a student's perspective.
So I want to ask Martin because one thing I see is a student when they learn, they want to have reward quickly. So my idea is if you can win in the LMS, the mechanics somehow using like lots of technology, the blockchain or NFT, whatever, so to recognize the reward every time student progress. Then I think that will be big boost for students to learn. We do it manually now. We have to do it manually now, but I need a system to do it.
More like, just like a PlayStation game.
I hate to be the guy to have to wrap it up. I'm sorry, but maybe we can stay online afterwards and keep the conversation going. But look, on behalf of all in the audience, thank you to both of you and to your organisations for all that you've done to support the growth of EdTech. And here's to a bright future between Australia and Vietnam in the education sector. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. That was fantastic. Very, very insightful discussion. I'm now delighted to welcome our next set of showcase presenters from Vietnam to the stage. Firstly, I would like to welcome Trung Thai, the CEO at QUAN.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. Actually, a very nice discussion with the Moodle CEO and the Funis, and we actually have the story really about after the discussion between the two big guys. So we are came from the QUAN company, and our message today about integrated learning management solution that we are providing to improving the learning activity from the student. So basically that I will follow the QUAN and also ISKI, the company at the moment, and I have experience with the health and education domain. And basically QUAN is providing three category of product. Firstly, about the solution, the technology solution. Secondly, about the data analyzing. And we also provide the training and the consulting for institution implementing our solution. And we are actually integrated solution which is combined with an LMS, and we are using the Canvas open source LMS. It's about 40% of our technology, and We also collaborate with some of other, technology solution like H5P Learning Locker or some of, Shopify technology. And we also do collaborate with some of supplier really providing live conferencing, virtual lab, proctoring system, and also we also producing some service we can able to install to our LMS. And we also supporting for integrating with other solution from single sign-on from WordPress or any solution from Google and Microsoft. So our target customer, we on the tutoring center and MOOCs business. We also doing the business in K12 school, higher education, and we also partnership with the Department of Education and Training, and also some of other EdTech company. So we transform the institution and the way that a teacher and student in school doing, but with a customizable platform and data. And you can see right here is one of the processing flow that we usually to figure out support for institution to find out the learning part we can able to improve their teaching methodology. We also collaborate with some of the university, especially with the University of Oulu in Finland to do some research and mining from our data to figure out how the people can improve their online learning activity. We also comply with the vision of the Advanced Distributed Learning Initiative in US for the vision of 20. And we also supporting for this picture going on in Vietnam and Asian countries. We also the member of the Aro Institute and also the team-based learning collaborative. We strongly support for the implementation of blended learning and flipped classroom. We very so new in Vietnam and developing countries. And just last year we got the innovation award from the Ho Chi Minh City government for the total learning architecture that we had already provide to support for the development of education system in Ho Chi Minh City. And we currently collaborate with the Vietnam National University, some of the big department of education and training in Vietnam, and also the groups to provide a solution and also supporting for research information in teaching and learning in the environment. Yeah.
Chung, thank you so much. I would now like to welcome our next presenter, Van Nguyen, the CEO at Osler.
Good morning. Can you hear me clearly?
Certainly can.
Yeah.
So if you just want to share your screen when you're ready. Perfect.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Good morning from Vietnam. My name is Van Nguyen. I am the founder and the CEO of Osler.io, which is an educational tech-enabled platform for studying overseas, especially for Asian students with mentors. I was named in the fourth 30 under 30 Vietnam 2016, and I was lucky to receive full New Zealand government scholarship to study my master in New Zealand. Since then, I have supported thousands of Vietnamese students to make their study dream come true, and some of them come back and join with us as a team members or as a role of the mentors. And I believe that education not only change one person's life like my case, but also can change the whole generations. Therefore, over the last 4 years, we have won nearly $8 million US scholarship value for all of our students from high school up to PhD level. Students want to study abroad but don't really know how and need the support from mentors. But they have weak connections with experts who are the alumni student, school professors, or previous scholarship winners to seek for advice. And normally the traditional company, they try to send them to their contracted school for commission for higher commission rate. Therefore, there could be a bias in consulting and lead to the wrong study choice, which wastes money and effort from the parents and students. Therefore, we are meant to become the largest Asian study abroad communities with academic mentors. On our platform, students can easily explore and match the opportunities, not only for shortcut exchange programs to build up their profile and CV, but also can match to the full degree programs with or without financial aid. And then they can easily connect to mentor and staff in one portal. And we are meant to provide on-in, offshore, and onshore services for our students. And here is our product demo.
Hi, Van. Sorry, we can't see the video. It's not very clear. Are you able to skip through the video?
So we are meant to provide the values not only for our students, but also for our mentors. Like international students, they can work while study in Australia. So just by joining as the mentors, sharing their school information, the school programs, and the country Australia, they can gain better income with flexible times and multiple jobs, and especially maintain the pay-it-forward spirit. The traditional company focus on self-funded students, but with our model, we expand the proportion to partly funded and also fully funded. The market size in Vietnam could be 800 million US dollars because Vietnamese parents are paying 4 billion US dollars for their children to study abroad every year. And therefore, our target customer could be students, parents, and other sub-agents. This is the pictures that we are the only agency in Ho Chi Minh City can conduct the education fair on behalf of Education New Zealand. Within 3 hours, we were given 70,000 US dollars to conduct the event in the 5-star hotel because we are owning a large communities of parents and students in Vietnam. Therefore, we have diversified revenue model coming from school and governments like commissions for successfully admitted students, marketing fund for webinar, banner ad fees, but we also can get revenues from the students from the service fee like scholarship consulting package and visa applications. Thank you so much.
Van, thank you so much for that. We've got a few questions that have come through, so I'll just pose those to you. The first question, what are the main differences between OSLA and other traditional overseas consultant agencies?
Yes, so thank you for your questions. The traditional companies, they need to have the direct contract with school in order to gain commissions, and therefore they have limited school options. And secondly, they haven't even studied abroad, so they have limited experience in consulting on the career choice. And I believe that choosing the good career will lead to the correct programs. So it will be more important. So I believe that mentor would be in the good place to conduct the career consultants. And traditional companies, they are not willing to find the scholarship for students because it will affect on the commission rate that they can receive. In the market, we also have alumni students who conduct the sharing courses, how to handle scholarship, but alumni students cannot apply for visa and honestly cannot apply to school. And therefore they charge very high service fee from the students. Our model is combination. So our mentors could be the role to provide consultants, but also we submit the application to school to gain commissions. Therefore, we charge the student lesser fee and also higher benefit for mentor as well.
Perfect. Now, following on with students, how many institutes can OSLA enroll students in worldwide?
So we are officially have the direct contract with 300 schools in the world, but also through our master agents, others unicorns in the market. As the master agents, we can submit through them and apply to school to over 4,000 schools and institutions in over 20 countries.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This has been really, really insightful. If you'd like to learn more about OSLA and Kahota, you can visit them in their booths at the close of the formal program. Once again, thank you to Chong and Van. I would like to again thank all the companies that are showcased today. You can connect with them and many more innovative companies in the Expo booth on Hopin very shortly. Before that, I would like to welcome to the stage the facilitator for the last discussion in today's program, David Linke. David leads EdGrowth as Managing Director, bringing decades of experience leading education, technology, software, and service businesses across Asia Pacific. Welcome, David.
Thanks very much, Luke. Well done so far. It's been a big program. It's been fantastic to watch. So awesome for you and to everyone who's had a chance to listen to some innovative companies showcasing their product and some real deep thoughts about where we might be going as far as higher education student engagement and services and support for the K-12 sector. We've got a really interesting conversation now. We're going to hear from 3 of Australia's leading education thought leaders as far as trade and development is concerned, both based around Southeast Asia and with direct responsibilities into Vietnamese markets. So without further ado, allow me to welcome Hong Nyo, who is the Senior Business Development Manager from Austrade. Hong leads the education sector at Austrade Vietnam. The team provides services and strategic advice to the Australian education institutions and edtech companies who are thinking about Vietnam as an export market, and also helping Vietnamese edtech companies think about Australia as a place to base themselves. So welcome, Hong.
Thank you very much, Dave, and delighted to join you in the discussions on EdTech landscapes of Australia today with Vietnamese audience, together with my colleagues from Global Victoria and New South Wales Investment.
Why don't you give us a little bit of understanding, give us a little bit of context about the Australian EdTech ecosystem and your view from Austrade?
Well, actually, I believe that our audience already had chance to join previous sessions with the sharings from EdTech expert from a number of the key companies in EdTech, and I believe that it is just a part of our vibrant system of EdTech of Australia, which I'm very proudly to share that we have about 600 companies and about 13,000 employees in this sector that generate revenues on $2.2 billion a year. And I must say that we are very proud to present you also Australian EdTech Directory, which is a joint product between EduGrowth and Austrade, launched in November 2020, where our interested partners and institutions can easily search for companies in different sectors, in different regions and locations of Australia. I would like to share with you that we have a vibrant EdTech ecosystem, which is built on very strong education system of Australia, and in very, very, very strong international education sector. We are actually have more than 1,100 institutions in Australia, 42 universities, which is in the top ranking of the world, and very strong sectors of English language trainings and also school sectors as well. So this is a very good foundations for us to apply technologies and focus on learning outcomes and learners' experience. So this is the landscape of EdTech ecosystem area, and very happy to share with you some insight from Austrade together with my colleagues as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Hong. We're going to hear now from Rebecca Hall, who is the Commissioner for Victoria for Southeast Asia. Rebecca has an incredibly long career in the education space and also working within economic development across almost every agency represented here today. So it's Rebecca currently represents the state of Victoria for trade and investment interests across Southeast Asia. I think she's based out of Singapore. I think that she's coming today, but certainly has a direct insight into Vietnam and has offices across Jakarta, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, and Ho Chi Minh City. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thanks so
Hi,
much.
Rebecca. How's it going?
I'm well, thank you. Yes, coming to you from Singapore today, but hopefully Vietnam next week.
Vietnam next week. Oh well, that's one of the things with a really big regional territory. You've got to bounce around a bit. I thought maybe you might give us a bit of insight to the EdTech ecosystem and Victoria's place in it and some of the programs that Victoria's been presenting?
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much, David, and delighted to join my other panel members from the Australian Government and New South Wales Government to talk about what's been happening. Obviously for us, so I shouldn't say obviously, but I think for Victoria, education and our investment in education has always been a priority, and particularly EdTech, where we see and saw Melbourne, not only our institutions embracing EdTech pre-COVID, but also the growing ecosystem of tech companies who are homegrown, founded in Victoria, or also those increasingly that are choosing to set up tech hubs or R&D hubs for EdTech in Melbourne. I know it's probably cliche now to say that COVID has accelerated that focus and that move, but we feel very fortunate to have the foundation with our institutions, with our innovative companies, startups and scale-ups, and of course, I mean, I'd have to say with EduGrowth also being based out of Melbourne as well, and the work that you and your team have pulled together. In my first intro, let me pull out just 3 examples of some of the initiatives that we're part of. Hong has given some great stats there in terms of the size of the market, and we proudly for Victoria represent about 1/3 of those. But I think a couple of interesting things. One is the Global Victoria EdTech Innovation Alliance, which was grown out of COVID response, part of Victorian government's initiatives to help support the education sector whilst borders were closed. And I think, and you know this very well, David, as being a partner in helping us implement the Alliance program, it's a great opportunity to connect 3 key pieces of the puzzle: Victorian EdTech companies, researchers and international partners. So given this audience and the great partnership that we already have underway with a number of stakeholders in Vietnam, we're hoping that that Innovation Alliance program will build more research and more action-based research on the value of EdTech and how we can actually apply that in international and global markets. So that's the first one. I think the second one, like many of our colleagues in the Australian government and other states and territories, we're actively supporting our businesses to open up new export opportunities to look at new markets. And so COVID in many ways meant that we had to turn from traditional trade missions to virtual trade missions. And it does mean for our team in Southeast Asia, we got to lead some of our first virtual engagements with priority EdTech companies June last year. So for us, we're working with around about 20 EdTech companies on priority programs in Southeast Asia. And no surprise for this audience that Vietnam has come very high on the list of priority markets for engagement. And also, I think, paving the way for new ways of partnering and new ways of market entry. We talk a lot about, and I oversee Southeast Asia, but we also know that market engagement and market entry is very different depending on the audience. So we've been very lucky to have Cho join us as our Education Services Manager last year, and for her to be able to bring some really great opportunities. I'm going to close on my...
We might jump in there for a second, Rebecca, and let's leave your case study because I think we've got a really interesting spot where we will talk about that in more detail. So hold that one for 1 second. What I might do is I might just ask QUAN to join us as well, and QUAN can give us a little bit of introduction to New South Wales. So he's the Trade and Investment Director for Vietnam for Investment New South Wales. He is responsible, he's based in Ho Chi Minh City. He leads the state as a representative for New South Wales in the Vietnamese market. He brings a background and focus on sustainable development, corporate social responsibility, environmental issues. QUAN, how are you?
Hi, David. Hi, everyone.
Firstly, you have to do me a favor before you jump in. You have to help us. You have to help me. Can you say your name for me?
Okay, my name is QUAN.
QUAN. All right, I'll get that in my ear now. So QUAN, the floor is yours. Give us a little introduction, and then we'll ask Hong and Rebecca to join us.
Thank you very much, David, and hello, everyone. I'm glad to join you and my colleagues from Australia and Victoria going global. And I'd like to give the applause to Hương to mention all the capabilities of Australia as the technology center for education, but also for other technologies. And as you pointed out, Australia and New South Wales also have a very strong capability in EdTech, and we can say that New South Wales have about half of the startup companies, and we are hosting about 40% of the EdTech companies. So we not only supporting the environment, the conducive environment for technology companies to stay and do their business in New South Wales, but also we are supporting them to export. Just like Rebecca already mentioned, we also have some program to support the technology companies to export to Vietnam, but also to Singapore, to other ASEAN countries. So that is something that we are here in country, but also onshore to support our companies to global stage. Thank you
very much, Kian. Thank you so very much, Kian. That's a great introduction. We'll now welcome Hong and Rebecca back as well, because this gives us a really nice way to start thinking about how is Australia supporting this digital transformation of education. There's absolutely no doubt that we have been talking about digitising education for a long time. And we're at various stages within Australia, at various stages within different jurisdictions, within different systems we are as well. And I thought I might begin by asking you, Rebecca, you know, you've had a remit across a really broad range across the education space, and you get the great opportunity to work with leading institutions and local partners everywhere. And where do you think there is an intersection between Australia and Vietnam in helping in this digital transformation journey that we seem to be on?
Yeah, thanks, David, and thanks for handing to me first. I think I think a key common area is actually government policy and leadership. And so we saw in Vietnam early on during the pandemic the commitment from the government all the way from the top down to recognise and support online education, but also to invest and encourage the tech ecosystem. So I think we would also say in Australia and in our state, there's definitely been a strong government policy push. We then know, though, that I think the other common both opportunity and challenge has been the willingness or the uptake of our institutions to be able to embrace and embed EdTech. And I think sometimes we fall into the assumption that when we're talking about EdTech, we're talking about online learning. That's obviously one component of how EdTech can enhance the learning and the education experience. So I think a common area there is our institutions and their willingness to engage and their ability to, I think, manage and accept risk. You know, in education, in government-funded education, it can be risky to be seen to be doing things differently or adopting an international partner or even going international. So, yeah, if I had to summarise, I'd say the policy environment and the appetite for innovation and risk.
I think that's a really good point about innovation and risk, because if you want to be innovative, you have to be risky, and it may not work and it may fail. So I think I might come to you, Hong, on the same sort of thing about this digital transformation. And you gave us some great stats about 600 EdTech companies, 13,000 employees, $2.2 billion worth of revenue. And I think there's another really interesting piece around that. Australia traditionally and typically the Australian EdTech ecosystem is about transforming learner experience within institutions, where I think predominantly in emerging markets or these vibrant markets like Vietnam, we actually see it about potentially a B2C play. And I'm wondering whether you might be able to comment on that.
Thanks, David. I think you're spot on. Transforming and focusing on learners' experience is very important. And I must say that COVID-19 pandemic has actually unexpectedly pushed all of the key stakeholders to transform better, to accelerate in this journey. And it is the same in Vietnam. And I must say that of Australia, even before COVID, we already engage in transformation digitally very strongly. And we have a number of the great examples, like, for example, I know Deakin Universities has great online programs, and so does with UNSW or University of Sydney. And actually, COVID-19 is just a catalyst to make the process faster. And with that trend, we have University of Australia also have to change the way of delivering programs, and so is with the vocational trainings, with the embedded technologies in their delivery. And of course, we have to focus on learners' experience. And I would like to refer back to what Dr. Thuy this morning in her welcome remark. She highlighted, together with Rebecca, the flagship program between Australian and Vietnamese government on online training policy and quality assurance. And we have a number of the pilot program ongoing now in Vietnam between Australian and Vietnamese universities. So you mentioned, David, about innovation and risk. They are always going together, but we have to engage in this process to test, to test and to see how it brings you. And of course, it's always paybacks. A lot of outcomes, at least you will learn, even the failure we learn from experience. I don't know whether
There's no
other
doubt.
panelists would agree with me.
There's absolutely no doubt that one of the things that the pandemic has given us an opportunity to do is to accelerate some of the regulation as well, right? Like, I think it's very clear that an online digital learning environment threw up some challenges for the regulatory environment. But if we get bogged down in the regulatory environment, I think we'll be watching people drop off this call very quickly. So let's move to something a little bit more interesting than regulatory, right? Well, for me anyway, I might fall asleep. So I'll talk only for myself. I won't talk for our audience. I wanted to stay in this digital transformation for a moment. And I want to think about the sustainability of this transformation, because we've had this great catalyst. What are the things that we need to think about to sustain this digital transformation? And maybe, QUAN, you can give us a bit of an idea of some of the things you're seeing. Maybe, I think you mentioned a partnership between Western Sydney University and I think it was Ho Chi Minh City Economics University. Do you want to give us some insight into what they're doing and what they're working on and how that might support this sustainability idea?
Thanks, David. I think as we all know that it's, we create the environment for digital transformation, and then it's really the stakeholders, the universities, and the institutions will take the opportunities. But again, we need to ensure that it's environment that they can work for long term. So that's why we encourage the institutions to work together with the markets. So we have the University of Western Sydney to collaborate with the University of Ho Chi Minh City for economics. So they're working on delivering a number of programs that we know that they use the internet platform. They use the technology to deliver it because of the border and also because of the COVID. But again, we would put them into more broader programs, for example, smart cities and some other programs that they are focusing on. So to make sure that we use the digital transformation to accelerate their programs delivery. Yeah.
That's a really good point as well. Can I ask about the partnership? What are they actually doing? Are they building new credentials? Are they building online platforms? What are they actually doing in partnership?
Actually, their partnership has been established back in 2008, and in joint programs delivering for academic programs. And also they are building some programs to deliver for corporates and also for some other research programs.
Okay, fantastic. And Rebecca, I might come back to you, and you were sharing in the opening some case studies, and I think I cut off one of them for you. So do you want to give us that case study that you're referring to and putting in this context of this digital transformation and sustainability?
Sure. Yeah, actually, I mean, one of the things I did mention in the intro as well was the Innovation Alliance, which is actually trying to mitigate against some of that risk as well in actually doing the active assessment of the value of EdTech in the market. So I think that is a prime place, and we'll have many more case studies from that once we roll it out. I think for our individual clients who've been interested in Southeast Asia, because this is the other thing we have to remember with EdTech, the world opened up. Whilst the world was closed, the opportunities for EdTech really opened up, and we saw a lot of emergency responses to filling a need and looking for programs or partners that hadn't been there before. So one of our opportunities and challenges is to make sure that we position Vietnam as the strong market that it is for EdTech, but we also educate our EdTech companies about what it takes to succeed in Vietnam. And so a couple of case studies for us, I mentioned there's 20 or so companies that we're working with. A key feature for us has been working with the right investor and partner in Vietnam. So Venture Management Consulting Group has been our partner and working closely with many of our companies. So I think not going in with, here's a solution I have to sell directly, but working with a partner who understands the education landscape. And I think also customizing to the specific market needs. I mean, in Australia, we know that the education needs can change state by state, let alone when we're exporting or engaging internationally. So I think also recognising that the product and the service may have been tested, but how do we apply that in Vietnam? So we have Storybox Library and PassTab, who are two very different EdTech companies that we've been working with since June last year, and who are on the cusp of or have just signed deals in Vietnam, looking at actually creating a specific Vietnam product in partnership with and through introductions from Venture Management Consulting Group. I think for us, it's, and just to close on your question about sustainability, one of the other elements that we see in terms of maintaining a sustainable partnership, not just at the individual level, but more at a state or a country-to-country level, is the infrastructure that we have in market. So we were delighted to be able to open one of 3 at the moment study hubs for Victorian institutions and EdTech companies. So we do have our Ho Chi Minh City Study Hub, which we really hope will become play a different role as borders are now open for engaging with education and EdTech partners and finding that sustainable solution as well.
Fantastic. And I agree with you with the idea that any export market needs to be taken into its nuance, not necessarily just taken as a whole, and there's no doubt about that. And education moves really quickly. Hong, maybe again in the same light, when we're thinking about case studies of EdTech export and EdTech capability, I'm really interested in the micro-credentialing platform that the federal government is really working on, and what opportunities you might see for that in new markets like Vietnam for Australian companies and Australian education institutions.
Thanks, David. I think I already spot on the keyword micro-credentials several times in the event today, and apparently it is of high value in Vietnam at the moment, given the shortage of the skilled workers and decent workforce in Vietnam. And also, again, COVID-19 pandemic, of course, is very prolonged and set in a lot of challenges. However, it opened a new way of thinking, a new way of looking at the values of our skilled worker. What do they really need in order to integrate into international standard workforce that help Vietnam to lift up the quality of human resource, and also to help Vietnam with quality investment from FDI, and also our partnerships with international investors. Saying that, we really need internationally recognized qualifications, but also micro-credentials which offer very good values and affordable to employees and also to employers, to shorten the time of retraining and upskillings of our corporates. So in our recent reports on EdTech, we also emphasize that micro-credentials will be very potential in Vietnam, but we have to identify very key sectors that need the micro-credentials, and what platform and what partnerships models can we build in Vietnam to get out of the box.
I think that you make a really important point that we sometimes forget in education, and especially in education technology. It doesn't stop with the formal education. It doesn't stop when you leave the school gate or the university stage with your diploma. It's lifelong, and there's no doubt micro-credentials will play an incredibly important part in the upskilling and the reskilling and the ongoing employment of people. So there's no doubt about that. And actually, QUAN, I think New South Wales have been working really closely with Language Confidence. Are these guys helping in this sort of language acquisition space as well, which might be helping people in the workforce?
Is our success story case. We actually are supporting not only Language Confidence, but also other EdTech companies to go to the market. So we help them to understand the culture and doing business in Vietnam, because as you said, this is about nuance of each market, not just EdTech in general. So very different between Vietnam and China, for example. So we help them to understand the Vietnamese market, who are the key stakeholders, and who are the potential stakeholders in their partnership. So Language Confidence delivers the online or through the app, English testing and English speaking training. So we support them with the finding the representative here in Vietnam, because we understand that for the Vietnamese market, it's very important that they are here, they're present, and they knock on the door of the customers all the time and understand their bottlenecks and help them address that. So we help them with that. We help them with connecting with the key stakeholders. So finally, they got the agreement with one of the biggest delivery service provider here in Vietnam for English training, especially for English testing and English speaking training. So we think that from that success story, we know that we have to help them from understanding the market, understanding business, and doing and the culture here in the market, the key to success.
Fantastic. Thanks, QUAN. And actually, Hong, you broke my cardinal rule of panel. So if you use an acronym, you have to explain the acronym and then you need to talk about it. So you broke my rule. So you have to tell us what FDI is and then tell us why Australia is such a great place for Vietnamese EdTech companies to be based. That's the rule when you're on a David Linky panel. Sorry. I should have told you up front.
FDI means foreign direct investment, and you know that we have a great flux of FDIs to Vietnam, and we have seen also disruption.
Just 1 second. I'll translate for non-government people who are on this call. So this means a Vietnamese company who's thinking about setting up operations to export, who sets up a business in Australia. So that's what FDI stands for. All right. Now you can go and tell us why Australia is such a great place to base your Vietnamese EdTech company for expansion across Southeast Asia.
Thanks, David. And actually, okay, thanks for explaining to our audience. It is two ways, inbound and outbound. And we have investors from different countries to Vietnam, but also we would like to promote also Vietnamese investors to Australia as well. Given our great infrastructure, as Rebecca mentions, that Victoria is now building a lot of tech hub, and the same with in New South Wales, for example, with the startup facilitations, it's a great destination for us to promote and to make the best use and to come up with innovative partnerships and business models of trade and investment. So it's not just one way from Australia to Vietnam, but also from Vietnam to Australia. And given that we are part of the ASEAN countries, and we have a number of the very vibrant ecosystem of EdTech like Singapore, Malaysia, and also Indonesia, we see a great opportunities for Australia with ASEAN countries in these areas. And I'm sure that we could build alliance of ASEAN EdTech with Australia as well.
Absolutely. And again, that is a really important point. Austrade Global Victoria, Invest Victoria, and Investment New South Wales is not just about helping Australian EdTech companies export their services and products to Southeast Asia, but in fact to create this bilateral trade to be able to help transformation of all sorts of things. Is there anything that you wanted to share? I don't know if we got through all your case studies. Sorry, Rebecca.
We didn't, but that would take way too long. But you just gave me a few opportunities there. So I wanted to pick up on the two-way trade opportunity, and that's absolutely the way that we're viewing the opportunity. This isn't about one side winning or taking from the other. So I think we're really going to see what we've been seeing too, particularly in tech. It's much easier to establish tech teams around the globe and to choose which cities or which hubs you want to operate out of. And I think all of us have some examples and have the resources to be able to talk to parties who are interested in that. One of the most, I think, interesting things is we haven't been able to travel, right? We haven't been able to get on a flight and come down and do that personal one-to-one connection. So I'm going to give a shout out to, and I think New South Wales and any of our other state and territory colleagues would welcome any visitors who want to come down to Australia in the near future, but also a shout out that the 2021 EduTech International Conference and Expo will be in Melbourne in August. So if we wanted to combine that visit with, a global major conference that happens to be in Melbourne, then that may be a good opportunity to connect as well.
Absolutely, Rebecca. EduTech is the largest EdTech showcase in the Southern Hemisphere. It's in Melbourne it was 2021, 2022, I think 2023 as well. It's also combined, so that's also combined with the Melbourne EdTech Summit at the same time. So Melbourne EdTech Summit is 8th and 9th of August, and then EduTech is the 10th and the 11th, and then the 12th there will be some yet to be announced programming. So there'll be a full week, the Melbourne EdTech Week. You can come to Melbourne and learn lots about the Australian EdTech ecosystem. So with all of that, I really want to thank you so very much for giving us your insight, Hong, Rebecca and QUAN. We've got a really great understanding of how Australia can help in the digital transformation of education within Vietnam, and also help Vietnamese and Australian EdTech companies support learners in both of those markets. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. And I think I'm going to hand back to you, Luke. I think it's your stage to wrap up.
Thank you very much, David. Once again, a big thank you to everyone today. That nearly brings us to the close of today's program. On behalf of EduGrowth, I'd really like to thank all of the speakers and companies who participated in today's program. EduGrowth thanks the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade for making this program possible through the AVEG program, and our Vietnamese partner EdTech agency, who've been invaluable to the success of today's entire program. Thanks to Vietnamese government professionals that were present today, including Ms. Nguyen Tu Thuy and Dr. Lubick Ngoc from MOET for their support. I now invite you to head to the Hop-In Expo booths to connect with the 17 innovative Australian and Vietnamese EdTechs here today. You can meet with the companies, watch a demonstration, and/or ask questions about their solutions. Please explore and learn more about the innovations impacting learners locally and globally. Thank you once again for everyone for joining us. It's been a pleasure to host you in today's program.